Welcome here to the second epic of India, the Ramayana sometimes it's called. Same deal. So it's compiled. It's a Sanskrit epic, originally orally composed, later written down. Compiled between this sort of epic age of 400 BC to 400 CE. Again, it wasn't like just one day it didn't exist and then it did. It was most likely a collection of stories that were then weaved together into a larger narrative. There is, in this case, there is an attributed author, though maybe mythical more than real. But this Valmiki here is pictured. He is a sage who is sometimes seen as the first Sanskrit poet. So again, kind of this idea of Sanskrit transitioning from Vedic world, remembering Vedic hymns to a literary language. The story about him goes that he was a thief, and he was caught, and then he was focusing on Rama, and he was focusing, and as he said the name Rama over and over again, he kind of was saved, and then this story, he was given this story, and then wrote it down. It's a little bit shorter than the Mahabharata, but it's still quite extensive, 24,000 verses, 7 parts, and here's kind of a statue of the final battle of Ravan and Raman. Here's Ravana, 10-headed Ravana. We'll meet in a second here, and Rama here as they battle, as most epics are, the battle of good versus evil. So what is the Ramayana? What is this story? It's basically about this guy named Rama. Rama is here. He is also Vishnu. So in the Mahabharata, Krishna is Vishnu. In this case, Rama is Vishnu. So he's got that connection there. He has a wife, Sita. Here she is Lakshmi, so this sort of Vishnu-Lakshmi pairing. He has a brother Lakshmana, and he has a very important sort of devotee, half man, half monkey, Hanuman, who we'll talk about. Basically, the story goes that Rama is exiled. We'll talk about this in a second. He's exiled from his kingdom for 13 years. So you have this idea of exile. He has to go around. He's joined by his wife, his dutiful wife, and his dutiful brother, Lakshmana. So a lot of this dharma, duty ideas embedded here. Come along and join him. Sita is abducted by the evil King Ravan, the 10-headed King Ravana. And then Rama, so the rest of the movie, Rama, who is the good guy, if you will, right, must find and defeat Ravana, the bad guy, right? And again, the archetypes of Rama is very much seen as the perfect specimen, lives very devout, dharmic life, whereas Ravan is not. He's always underhandedly stealing on somebody else's wife. And along the way, he meets this monkey guy, Hanuman, who helps very much in the search for Sita, but also sort of represents the perfect devotee to Rama, and also by extension Shiva. So that's kind of the main characters, the main summary. It's a little more complicated than that. So it takes place in Ayodhya, way up here in northern India, along the Ganges River. It's still a city today. This is the Rama temple where he's believed to have been born. Here's a golden temple of Ayodhya, model of this city. So the king here is Dasharatha, who is Rama's dad. He has 3 queens and 4 sons here. So Rama is one of 4 sons. The issue is that Dasharatha wants to retire, basically, and he's going to pass his rule to his son Rama, right? But Kaikeyi, one of the queens here, it was the brother of the oldest son. Bharata wants her son to be king, and she has these 2 boons because back in, again, a lot of these boons and issues, and she'd saved Dasharatha's life back in the day, and he was given, and he said, you can ask me for 2 things, and I can't. I'll never, kind of when you need them, you can cash them in, if you will. So she uses this moment as that, and so she says, here's my 2 boons. I want my son to be king, and I want Rama exiled for 13 years. So that's how Rama gets exiled. And of course, Rama, being the dutiful son, obeys the father and leaves the kingdom with his wife and Sita. And he goes down here. They hang out here a little bit in the outskirts for a while, and then they go. This is where Sita gets kidnapped, and then goes down here to Kishkinda. This is where he meets Hanuman, and this is where Lanka is. So technically, Sri Lanka is Lanka as well. So the idea here, much like epics, is they're tying all these stories together. Where Mahabharata was very much centered in northern India, this story connects people, this South India together. Right? Rama goes south, meets all these new people down here, defeats Lanka, and then will return to Ayodhya victoriously. So that's kind of the story of um, uh, this event. So they go out to the jungle. They live together as outcasts. Ravan, he has 10 heads. He's pictured here. Um, Ravan, his sort of backstory is at one point he was like the best sage ever. He could like pray for years, thousands of years on end. But but every time he got something, he wasn't happy with it. Right? He always wanted to strive for more, and he kind of pushed things too far. He tried to get too much power and too much sort of sacred power. And so he kind of goes down the dark side, if you will. And so he gets cast out to Lanka, right? And so that's how he ends up with Lanka. I can't remember why he's got 10 heads, but he does. He sees Sita and he falls in love. And again, because he's used to getting everything he wants, he's like, I will have her. He sends his sister Surpanaka to steal Sita, but Lakshmana defeats him. So you get to see Lakshmana as the dutiful brother and also brother-in-law as well. And then ultimately, what he does is he disguises himself as this sage, and he says, and he has his uncle dress up as this golden deer, and the golden deer walks by and says, "Hey," and Sita sees it and says, "Oh, I want that golden deer." So Rama and Lakshmana say, "Okay, I'll go get that for you," and then they put a thing, a sort of a magic beam around this hut so that nobody can come in. So Ravan then tricks Sita and says, "Hey, I'm dresses sort of this mendicant, this sage, asks for some alms. When Sita reaches her hand over to give him alms, she grabs him there. A little bit before that, I think Rama went out to go get the golden deer, and Lakshmana is like, "No way. I mean, obviously it's not. I mean, this is a trick." But Rama doesn't listen to him. He wants to please his wife. And then when he's out, then the golden deer like pretends to be Rama's voice and says, "Lakshmana, save me!" And Lakshmana's like, "I can't." But he does, and then that's how Sita gets kidnapped. So they're all at fault basically. So again, these ideas of what are these epics trying to tell us, right? That don't covet. If it looks like a trick, it might be. If it's too good to be true, right? Maybe it is. So Sita is kidnapped. So now they got to go find Sita, and along the way they come across this monkey kingdom, and they find Hanuman. Here he's depicted the monkey people in Kishkinda, where they are ruled by this evil king Vali, and Rama agrees to help kill Vali if the monkeys will help for Sita. This is a very interesting part of the epic because Rama shoots Vali in the back, very adharmic, not very honorable. But he's so intent on wanting to save his wife that he sort of oversteps these lines, these boundaries. And so this is a story of like sort of meddling in other people's affairs. He should have let the monkey kingdom deal with it itself. And then kind of goes sneakily sort of shoots this Vali in the back, which is obviously not what a good king should do. But he's overcome by his wanting to get his wife. But ultimately, it all works out. Hanuman agrees to help out. And runs around all over the place, finds Lanka, sees Sita there, lights his tail on fire, jumps around, lights Lanka on fire, which sets up the final battle between the two, which, as you can imagine, Rama wins, right? Because of this is good, but it's a huge battle, and it goes on for chapters and chapters, and all of the sort of there's a lot of overlaps between different characters who meet each other throughout the book, throughout the novel. It all comes out in the end. They all fight each other, and there's a lot of trickery. Ravana, of course, uses trickery to kind of confuse the enemy. Rama has this special weapon that he was been given by the gods that ultimately pierces Ravana's heart, and that is the end. Rama wins there. He goes back to Ayodhya. He actually flies on this swan, this magic swan. He goes back, and there's this festival, a famous festival in India every year called Diwali, which celebrates Rama. There's many things associated with Diwali, but one of them is Rama returning back to Ayodhya after his exile, and he becomes king. Bharata finds out the whole time Bharata was sort of ruling in kind of sort of in name only, that Rama's shoes were on the throne. Then he has to, like, there's this really interesting episode where he has to, like, test Sita's purity. So sort of like women's roles within society, because maybe when he was with Ravana, maybe there was they didn't know what happened, but Sita passes this purity test, and then they live happily ever after, and they ultimately just sort of decide to go back and become transmission back to Vishnu and Lakshmi. So that's the world. And Ayodhya is still a very famous city in India today. A lot of people go to pilgrimage there. So that's kind of the epics. So what are these epic significances now that we have two? And it's not just these epics, but epics in general. It's like what do they do? In this case, one of the themes. All epics have themes. And this we can relate to culture about. In this case, dharma, people's duties, how they should act, if you're whatever role you are in society, how you should act amongst your family. All these characters are archetypes, right? That you should be very dharmic. You should act respectfully, right? And if you don't, right, act respectfully, like Kaikeyi, who wanted to put her son above Rama, right? Bad things can happen. It brings disorder, right? Or the Kauravas coveting the throne over the Pandavas. There's a lot of keeping one's word. There's a famous quote in the Ramayana that your word is like an arrow. It's like once you release it, you can't get it back. So if you say something, if you're going to do something, you have to follow through. And then also, a theme of the gods, worship of the gods are important. Particularly, both these epics have this god Vishnu there. So then archetypes. Each characters are both good and bad. So Krishna. Example, Arjuna is again this righteous sort of, and this is Mahabharata, that Krishna tells Arjuna he can kill Karna when he's sort of stuck in the mud, right? But he kind of says, this is part of this, and Arjuna tries to argue that it shouldn't, it's not ethical, but Krishna says, hey, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, but and so there's a big discussion about that. Similarly, when Rama kills Vali when his back is turned, right, it kind of shows what you should and shouldn't do in these situations. And like I said, epics are inclusionary, right? Then they brought people together. If you lived in northern India, right, you would be part of this Mahabharata war where everyone met. Or if you're in Ramayana, Rama came to visit all the places he went and named in this epic. That would be part of this, right? There's TV series that are made throughout that over and over again of these. They were back in the day. They were told these wandering sort of playwrights and people would walk around and perform them. And now they make different series. There's even a cartoon about baby Krishna as a kid, right? There's restaurants like Krishna's restaurant. These names, these ideas are pervasive even today. Even they're very important figures. They play a big part in contemporary India. But also, this is interesting. This is the sort of shadow dance of the Ramayana, which is very popular in Southeast Asia. That story went to Bali. And now they have a whole new art form. Is these shadow puppets are part of this retelling of these epic stories that have been around for thousands of years.